In 1944, when Subhash Babu had set up his base in Rangoon, he gets an update that in the islands of Malay Peninsula, the Indian laborers were treated very shabbily by the Japanese soldiers. They were very brutal to them. And this news, when had reached Subhash Babu, he was petrified actually. And so much so that he lodged a formal protest with the Japanese High Command in Rangoon and in Sionan. And I think he had also spoken to Tojo, Premier Tojo. And Japanese assured him of all support. But after 3 months, he sends a mission to all these places led by Brahmachari Kailasam. It's like a committee that he forms and sends to look into the condition after post talks with the Japanese and to see how they are being treated now. And Brahmachari Kailasam, goes around and speaks to the laborers and finds out how things are, what are the amenities now provided to them, etc. And they come back and give a satisfactory report to Subhash Babu, and that is when things calm down. But he was, what I'm trying to say is that Ramakrishna Mission was very much in sync, very much a party or a partner to the efforts, mostly on the humanitarian sides to some extent, and also to his spiritual side, with Subhash Babu in Sionan and the Malay Peninsula endeavors. The other two incidents that come out that I distinctly remember is one I discussed about how he gathered funds and for the boat 350 odd children from Ramakrishna Mission for the new building. But at the same time, he quite often used to go to Ramakrishna Mission, particularly in the night, change himself into complete white silk clothes, as is worn by the brahmacharis, and get inside the sanctorium for his meditations. And these sessions or meditative sessions were no less than 2 to 3 hours, and he used to come out late in the night and then go back to his quarters. But at that point of time, doors would be closed. He would be meditating inside the temple, and the descriptions that are given that when he comes out of the temple, he would be like emanating a different ray from his face, light from his face. This I have heard from many other memoirs also, that there was a different glow in his body, a different radiance from his face, a divya aura जिसको बोलते हैं, दिव्यता का आभास होना. Secondly, one of the memorable events that or incidences that I remember is, as a part of my research, that in 1945, when the Japanese had surrendered, he was in Rangoon, and the INA Azad Hind Fauj was retreating from to escape arrest by the British forces, and his officers and the Japanese officers, they were insisting that both should leave Rangoon, and he was not like, no, I don't want to leave my men and leave like this. But anyways, after a lot of discussion and brainstorming, it was decided that he will leave. And before leaving, that day, he goes into the Rangoon Ramakrishna Mission and says that he changes into the white wardrobe with dhoti and thing, and pure silk, finest quality silk, white silk, and gets into the temple. And when he comes out, there is again, he's a different man altogether. The Maharaj himself is saying, and even the Japanese officers were also terrified by looking at his, that radiance. That what is this? Is he God or divinely figure? And that is one thing. And another account that I've heard of, I am yet to get a documented this thing, but something somewhere I have read, I don't recall, that one of the Japanese officers, when he had by mistake, due to some urgency of information that needed to be passed on, had gone inside the, opened the doors of the sanctum sanctorium, and I think he saw there that Bose levitating, from. and he kind of fell unconscious immediately by looking at that site. But this is like not documented. I've read somewhere, but इसका पुष्टिकरण proper तरीके से हुआ नहीं है. I mean, a lot of things about Bose resides in the oral traditions also. So this is just one of them actually. A lot such stories.
What people don't understand, that Japanese are very stoic and disciplined race.
Right.
And as a
And they are equally spiritual as well.
Yes, that's the thing. That's how Netaji, project that aura and, make them believe that
Right.
he is that person.
In fact, interestingly, in the jungles of Burma, there were multiple incidences where when he was traveling in the convoy, he used to say that either you stop here, he used to hold back the entire convoy, or he will divert the convoy and a British bomber will come and bomb that site. So many times, I mean, there have been accounts how this man used to understand that bombers are coming. I mean, bombing, the fighters are coming, and he will, divert. There's been so many incidences, and primarily it is because what I personally think is because of his spiritual prowess, he could understand many things, foresee many things, That is, in fact, one of the interesting stories that I've heard, again, not validated, that during the Vietnam War, when the Thai forces, the Vietnamese forces were not able to make breakthrough through the American defenses and lines. One of the tactics that was used by them was to drop a lot of drugs into the backyard of the American forces. And these American soldiers became drug addicts, drugs, and that's how they, slowly started losing the war. So this I have heard, I don't know, again कोई पुष्टिकरण हुआ नहीं है. I have heard that Bose, who is presumed to be alive at that point of time, had advised Ho Chi Minh on this. But again, इसका कोई पुष्टिकरण नहीं है. This is kind of grapevine, kind of legend, kind of folklore or ballad, you can say, whatever you want to term. But this happened. But it is beyond, it is beyond our imagination to even understand what kind of spiritual power this man had. He definitely had. Otherwise, somebody with a tiger skin is something not an easy job. It's not an easy job. It's not a normal thing that we are talking of. And secondly, if somebody is getting in a dress of a brahmachari, in the garb of a brahmachari, wearing those wardrobe, getting into the sanctum sanctorium and meditating 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours is not, and coming back with a divine aura, And he has written that in his memoirs at places that I do used to get directions. And obviously, we know this is quite possible because Sri Aurobindo, Rishi Aurobindo, had got visions of Swami Vivekananda and Sri Krishna in the Alipur jail.
Oh, yeah. It?
Rishi Aurobindo, Sri Aurobindo became Rishi Aurobindo to these divine interventions. He got a vision of Sri Krishna where Sri Krishna told him that this is not your path. That is your path. And then came Swami Vivekananda, and day after day, Swami Vivekananda trained Rishi Aurobindo. And I am also not saying this, you see Rajiv Malhotra also speaking on those lines. He also has validated these discussions and these points, and these are captured in, in Auroville. If you go to Auroville, you will read about these events in much more detail.
But maybe we are not ready for that, right?
Exactly. We are not ready.